Oh gosh. And north,
Yeah.
talking about earth and connecting with your ancestors
Yes. It's so beautiful.
and connecting with your roots, the symbol of the tree and how the roots go into the ground. I mean, your
Deep.
ancestors represent the roots, the things that help you stay grounded
Yeah.
in this
And
life.
it's the roots of who you came from.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that deep rooted area. It's that deep space within.
Yeah.
And I find that so many times when people connect to their ancestors or do family history or to learn about where they came from, like this new form of confidence, this new space, this new opening happens. And I love that we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about this now because we talked about cycles, how Mother Earth naturally has these cycles. She has all these elements, she has all of these things, directions that we live off of every single day, right? She has all these cycles in which we go within.
The natural seasons were like the
Yes.
cycles, and evolution is a cycle. It's like
Yes. So calling on
reminds
the
you.
north just completes that cycle. It's like refiner's fire. We go from receiving our seeing things from a high perspective to the fire to feeling our emotions to being connected to who we are, where we came from, bringing us back into this moment, physically being here, enjoying being
Mm-hmm.
outside. And creating that space is just so beautiful to connect in, to honor that, to love that, but also not make it wrong because we did come from somewhere.
Yes.
And regardless of whether or not we are happy with our upbringing or what's been passed down from generation to generation, creating sacred space and sacred ceremony can help you change those things that you're not so fond of.
Yes.
But also it's acknowledging that and honoring that, but that doesn't have to define you. And sacred ceremony can really help remove those things.
Well, and what I love too about North and connecting with ancestors, we hear so much about, which we do ancestral healing and we work with ancestral healing. But when you do an ancestral healing ceremony, it's not just about releasing and the things that happened, the stories and the traumas and the things that the patterns that the family had that were toxic, or and that you're releasing that, saying,
Yeah.
okay, this doesn't serve my future, so I'm releasing those things that don't serve me, that are connected to my ancestral past. But the other part of that ceremony is to remember that your ancestors also bestowed gifts
Yes.
and strengths. Now, we talked about,
Most of the time, people don't acknowledge
they
that.
don't acknowledge that. They focus so much on the negative
Yes.
that they forget that the reason it's important to connect with your ancestors is because if you can connect in with your ancestral roots and the gifts that and the strengths that they gave you, which is
Yeah.
symbolic of the guardian of the north, which is the buffalo, which represents the strength, the
Yeah.
perseverance, the fearlessness energy, right? Then you can take those gifts and you can truly integrate them and expand on those gifts
Yes.
and incorporate that into your life and make it more beautiful.
And it's powerful too because throughout sessions, people will acknowledge there's this generational clearing or the generational pattern. And a lot of times it's like just being aware of it and you making a decision to change each day.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are times where we do this deep healing, we do this clearing, but sometimes we feel like, oh, it didn't really take, or I'm still struggling with that. Well, it doesn't mean that's just going to fully go away right away. I mean, there are times where that will be lessened or even taken away, but it's also making that decision, moving that forward. It's motion. You're making that
Yes.
contribution. You're taking that step because action is part of this physical journey. We can't just sit back and wait for everything to happen. We can manifest things, but that doesn't mean we're sitting in our house not doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
We're creating, but we're also putting intention and putting energy and moving it forward.
I love that you mentioned that because it reminded me of the quote, it's not the destination, it's the journey. It's the journey, not
Yes.
the destination. If that is happening and you've released and sacred ceremony, I'm releasing this, it's not going to look necessarily the way you think,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
because there is an unraveling that occurs. And the reason why there's a process where you're kind of like unraveling it from you, or that you're shedding it away, is because there's information, there are diamonds of wisdom that you're supposed to be gathering as this is shedding away, and there's a process. If you were just to go straight to the end and you weren't able to retrieve that, then you're kind of discounting those soul agreements that you had to learn certain things or to experience certain things in this human journey. And that is the beauty of it. You may not, what's so awesome about that process though, is it's so conscious. It's
Yes.
not like you're just going through life unconscious and you're repeating the patterns of your ancestors that were toxic or unhealthy. And you're just kind of going, and you're kind of like a mummy, going through life. When you're doing a sacred ceremony and you're transmuting this energy, there's an unraveling that happens. And all of a sudden it's like, wow, I really get what I needed to learn about this. And then you're able to retrieve that diamond, and then it naturally falls away. Like
Yes.
once you're able to retrieve it, that will be the
It
end.
will
It will just
dissipate.
dissipate and go away.
Yes.
And it's so empowering because you do it in a conscious way when you participate in sacred ceremony.
Yeah, it's that intention.
Yeah.
Intention is everything when it comes to anything sacred. And I love that because it fades away, but it's setting the intention. And then it's not saying, oh, I'm going back to my old ways. Like you're literally changing patternings. You're changing how you view life. You're aware of that. You're consciously aware of those choices that you're changing. And so when we call
So
upon sacred
powerful.
direction and we open up this space after we've cleared it, we've cleansed it, we've called upon the directions, we go into above and below
Yes.
together. So as we call upon the direction of those above us, our guides, our higher beings, God, whoever it is that you look towards, your spirit guides, you're calling upon them to say, hey, I've been able to create this sacred circle in the physical form. Now I'd love for you to be with us, to bring in guidance, higher information, your love, your light. Help me remember who I am. And then we go onto the ground, we go and talk to Mother Earth. We thank her for all that she's
Oh,
done for
it's
us.
just so much for us every day.
Yeah, like we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Mother Earth. She gives us everything we need to achieve, to move forward in this space. So calling upon her, I always like to think, I always like to think above and to think below
Mm.
as I call them in, just like, thank you so much for all you've done. Thank you for this gratitude, like just full of love and full of light. And I always find myself wanting, especially when we got started at first, wanting to bless Mother Earth.
Yes.
Like it was constantly, instead of saying, please be with me, it was like, how can I bless you? Like, thank you so much for all you do. I bless you for your wisdom, for your strength. And like bringing that blessing, you're bringing that gratitude in, but you're aligning in this beautiful flow of energy. You're
You are.
connecting into that universal truth.
I love that. And it was so funny. I was just having this conversation with my son the other day about love languages.
Mhm.
And he goes, I'm such a gifter. I love to give things, all the time. He goes, really, all I need though is someone just to say thank you. I don't need them to do the same thing back, because
Yeah.
if the person I love just says thank you, that they recognize it, it just makes me so happy and fulfilled, because he's a words of affirmation.
Yeah.
And it's like, we can't underestimate the power of just saying thank you, of just recognizing the sacrifices that Mother Earth makes for us every single day. We're not easy.
Yeah.
We're
We're
as a,
not.
human beings are not
Yeah. Think
easy.
about as a mom or as a parent,
Yeah.
you have a stubborn kid who keeps doing their way, and you're like, I have all these
Yes.
things for you. Mother Earth provides all of that.
Yeah.
And
Without
yet,
like asking for anything
attachments.
back.
Yeah.
And so it's like being able to respect her. And when I connected with Mother Earth, I learned a lot about what love is
Yes.
and what cultivates love in your life. And love it creates an expansion, it creates growth, it is the foundation of things that last. And when I started to recognize Mother Earth's all of her offerings to my life, I really understood like what was the root of love. Like love is based off of respect and kindness and holding space and all of these different things. And it's so
Yes.
interesting that I was able to really process that lesson for myself and in my relationships
Yeah.
when I just gave recognition to Mother Earth. And you think about the pollution and the different things that we experience in this world. if everybody had that same level of awareness
Yes.
and respect, I guarantee that we would treat our planet differently. I guarantee it.
Mhm.
And so I love this part of creating sacred space
Me
because it
too.
reminds you of that.
It does.
And that is so powerful. Those are such powerful lessons.
It is beautiful.
Thank you for watching Modern Sages. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
We are so grateful for your support. We have an Instagram account as well as on Facebook. We have our podcast, which is the Modern Sages podcast.
And we are so excited to launch our Gifts of Spirit classes in our Modern Sages Mystery School.
Absolutely. Oh, we're so excited. So we're going to link the information below in the show notes for more information about our mystery school.